Welcome to Athletic Ambitions with me, Fiona Carter.
And me, Tom Barlow.
We are here to share the stories of our Cass and Friends athletes, aspiring Olympians and world champions. We will also interview elite athletes and professionals. They will be sharing their stories, the ups and downs and bumpy ride that their journey may have. We will learn how they persevere and deal with setbacks, train and compete at the highest level, and how their mindset helps with every step of the way. So if you want to hear about our upcoming athletes and learn from the best, this podcast is for you.
This is Athletic Ambitions, where every journey begins with a single step.
So, Vickie, welcome to the Athletic Ambitions podcast. Thank you so much for coming on this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So, Vickie is insane. She's one of my more bonkers friends, and I have to say I've got quite a few bonkers friends. I recently met Vickie in the Tewkesbury Tri Club in the slow lane of the swimming, but Vickie has now progressed onto probably the fast lane, and I haven't really moved much further forward, but we were both training for an Ironman, so that's kind of in our sights together. So I knew she was going to be a soulmate from the day I met her. Triathlon isn't Vickie's first and foremost sport, however. She was selected for Team GB for cross snowboarding to go to the Olympics when she was just 18. And financial constraints made that difficult, and she stopped her snowboarding career, which is why she understands so clearly the work of Cass and Friends. But this didn't stop Vickie from chasing her dreams, and she bought her first dog, and now she is leading the female sled dog racing team in the UK, and the rest is history. Currently, she's over 50 dogs in her kennels. She runs a company called Arctic Quest and competes on the world stage, amassing multiple gold medals at this level with scooters, bikes, and her teams of dogs. So, Vickie, tell us a bit more about yourself. Tell us about growing up as a teenager, snowboarding, first of all, and what it took to be selected for Team GB.
Yeah, snowboarding, like I guess before that I grew up with horses, and I guess you could say I come from a competitive family, and I grew up competing with the horses, and then I guess you kind of get older and your interests change maybe, and when I turned 18 I wanted to travel, but I found snowboarding. This does sound a bit crazy. I did it for a week at school, and the next thing I wanted to be an Olympian. That was that dream. But I acted on that, and I went to Canada and I trained really hard, and I qualified to teach and coach. So I had a way of training that was financially viable and living out in the mountains, and it was phenomenal, the lifestyle. And I trained, I rode with some fantastic people. I definitely got better, and then I started on the competitive circuit. I think my best ranking was about 21 in the world. I got a place on the Olympics 2010, but I didn't pursue it. I just financially couldn't afford it, and I guess I went into sport quite naive. I thought everything was funded for you when you're a GB athlete, which just sounds so silly now, but they're counters, babe.
Why there's the counters?
Just go and get some more. Sorry. Yeah, I just thought everything was funded for you, and it really isn't. And that was quite a reality check for me, and it was weighing up kind of now as a career, like what.
Mommy, what's this teeth?
That's another counter, Prin. There's lots of counters. Where, like, even if I win a gold medal at the Olympics, how is that going to reimburse me the financial sacrifices I make to get there? There's no. If you qualify to be a doctor, then you're going to be a doctor, and you can earn that back. But if you win a gold medal, it doesn't guarantee you a job at the end of it. So it's I just didn't really ever look at sport like that. And I guess I kind of, I got angry at it for a little bit, and I kind of went into sports development thinking maybe can I change it? Can I help younger athletes coming through, educate? Can we change the way that sport works? Is there any way we could get more funding into it? And I did that for a year, and actually, even though the work is, there needs people doing that work, it's really important, it just wasn't for me. I was the person that they were constantly talking about, as in I wanted to be the athlete, not the person making the changes, I guess. So I found that quite hard. And in that time is when I got my first husky, and I kind of went for I think job satisfaction over anything. I never got into the dogs thinking I'd be competitive. I kind of, because of everything that happened with snowboarding, I think I just wanted to create a lifestyle where I was living the dream and happy all the time. That, for me, that was what I wanted to do. And then the competing side came later. So that, yeah, I guess that's my sporting background before the dogs, really.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, there's so much that you say there that is so relevant to our athletes and funding and availability. And, you know, having just watched the Olympics, it's kind of crazy to see how much we put into the Olympic teams, and whether we get anything back as the sporting bodies, and you know, the government will say that they do or don't get money back. So what do you think we can do in terms of funding more sport? Have you got any ideas?
Yeah, it's really hard, because especially if you look at the Olympics just being, like, as a country, we've done phenomenal, and the athletes that we are producing is amazing. And even in like the Winter Olympics now, people are making sacrifices, and they're living out in the conditions that they need to compete in. But I think it's working with big brands and sponsors that would help athletes, and it's kind of finding that balance between, I guess, like amateur sport, which is technically meant to be like the Olympics, versus now something that's grown so big is, I don't even want to say extreme sport. It's not extreme now because of social media. It's every sport has. I've really noticed the difference in the last three years, maybe more, maybe less. Like, it's just been a big jump from sport being sport to now the level that everyone is competing at, the things that they're doing. It's just crazy, and just takes it to a whole new level. And I think that does make it more entertaining and almost more watchable for other people. Like, even for myself, like I'm not a big fan of watching sport, I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather be participating. But now I really can see the value of watching some of these athletes perform at the level they are, because it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And moving on to your current sport, though, I mean, that is complex. I'm fascinated by that. Tell us a bit about what you currently do and the different competitions and races that you do.
Yeah, so I sprint sled dog. So I race short distance. That you can race long distance as well, which is things like the Iditarod, which is I guess more famously is known for our sport. So with sprint, we can race on the snow. So yeah, I race on a carbon fiber sled. I race up to 10k. That's considered sprint. And you can race different numbers of dogs. So you can actually ski jaw. So you can cross country ski with one dog, and then you can 2-dog sled, 4-dog sled, 6-dog sled, 8-dog sled, and then you can go unlimited, which is up to 14, and that's all considered sprint.
Yeah.
And then I also race dry land, so that's it without the snow, and that is where you can canicross. I don't do this, but you can run behind a dog. And then you can do biking, which is cross country mountain biking with a dog. 2-dog scooter, 1-dog scooter, so it's a 2-wheeled scooter. You can use a 3-wheeled cart and a 4-wheeled cart, and you can go 4, 6, and 8 dogs, and that is our world. And that on the dry land, that's up to like 5k.
Okay. So look, I thought triathlon was crazy with the kit and equipment that you needed coming from a running background, but that sounds like a bit of a minefield. The logistics and training, you've got to train the dogs, you've got to train yourself. How do you go about combining those two things?
Yeah, that balance is super hard because obviously first and foremost the dogs have to come first. They really do. And I think I'm going to be really honest, like, motivate yourself as an athlete to train as much as you do to want to perform at the highest level. It's not always easy. The gold medal at the end I think it can make everything look quite easy, but it's the days when you don't have the world championships or the Olympics and it's raining outside and you're just an ordinary person and you have to get up at like 4 a.m 5 a.m and you have to go and put those extra miles in that no one else is doing, and that is hard enough without having to do it twice over, because you have to do it for the dogs and then I have to do it for myself. And I have a lot of dogs and I race in a lot of classes, so I make my life a lot harder than it has to be, I guess. There's massive benefits to that. Obviously I have a toddler, a daughter, so balancing everything does become really intense. There's not enough hours in the day, but yeah, just somehow I do it, and I don't really know how sometimes, but you just you have to stay focused. I mean, sometimes you have a bad day, like it does happen, and sometimes you question what you're doing, or sometimes you might like not do a training session as well, or you might even miss a training session. You might be under the weather. It could be anything. It's just not beating yourself up about that and putting it behind you. What's done is done, and moving forwards, and just not going onto that spiral of not continuing. And I think it's hard. I think people underestimate how hard it is being an athlete, because I don't think it is just about competing in that sport that you love and you're so passionate about. I think it's the dedication behind closed doors around the clock.
Yeah. And sort of maybe not so relatively new competitor, your competitors, I don't know, into the sport. Do you I know you have a coach for yourself and for your cycling. Do you have a coach for the dogs, or are you the dogs coach? Like, do you do plan all their sessions, or do you have help with that?
No, so I do all the dog session. Hang on, Prin. Wait, let's play with something else and not my bank cards. Sorry, Fee. The dogs I do myself. I think that's what I do best. I think the dogs are fantastic, they're phenomenal, and they are why I've got the results that I have. So yeah, at the moment I don't really need to change too much with them. I'm definitely the weaker link, hence why I have a great coach. And we're constantly, we're trying to improve the dogs. It smells great. We're trying to improve the dogs all the time, but the dogs are running at a pace which is a world-class pace. Mm-hmm. It's me behind them that's always slowing that down, I guess.
When you train them on dry land for the snow, how do you kind of simulate those conditions?
Well, this is really hard. Like, technically, I should be coffee. You do not need that at this time. We don't.
7:30 in the evening. How old's Prin?
Yeah. Yeah. Does not have that. The snow thing is really. It's for my goggles. The snow thing's really difficult. In an ideal world, I'd want to go and train on snow, but money, work, commitments, they just don't allow it. And so what I do, for me, the fitness on the dogs in terms of distance, because they need to be, that's the first and foremost. When the conditions are hard, like as in if it's warm and the snow is heavy, it's sludgy, I really struggle because the dogs lack the condition that other dogs who train on snow have. But if the snow conditions are good and they're fast, then we've won a silver medal at the World Championships on snow. So I can keep up with the best of them, but that's down to, I want to say luck. It's not. It's down to it. I could train better, but then you're limited by, like I say, money, time, commitments, and that. Yeah, that's probably my hardest thing that I'm up against.
Yeah, I can see. And we live near some stables. They have a horse walker. Do you have anything like that for the dogs that can help you train them? Because I know you've got so many.
Yeah, so like this is a really interesting topic, and I will try and keep my answer short for this, because I run a hydrotherapy center as well. So basically, my dogs use a water treadmill for strength and conditioning, and if I ever need it for rehab, then I have it there as well. Now, long story short, I was using someone else's center, which was phenomenal, and they sponsored me, and I got a really good rate. But then I was like, hang on a minute, I could pay this every week off on a loan if I bought my own machine. So I qualified, got my own machine, and started a business, and therefore I can use it for my own dogs, which is great. But there's a couple of things, like there's not the money in canine that there is in horses. So the studies are not there that has been done with the equine world or the human world, because humans can use water treadmills and stuff as well. So we can only take data from human and horse studies, which there are similarities, but a horse and a dog, they're very different animals. How they live, what they eat, their needs are very different. So I think this is when you really start trying to get into the science of it, you start looking at the marginal gains. And I think if you're looking at like a horse walker, like just to go round and round and round, there are people in the dog world that use that, but there's a bit of controversy about it with dogs because of mentally, is it the right thing for them? And I don't know, I don't have the answers because there's no studies on it, so I can give an opinion, but it wouldn't be necessarily factually correct. For me, I know using the water treadmill, it really benefits my dogs. It's a really safe way of training them. It's low impact, and I don't do it all the time. I do it once a week or once every 2 weeks maximum, and the dogs love it. It actually gives them a bit of one-to-one time. So I don't think it's just beneficially from a sports point of view, but I think from a mental point of view and a relationship, like we're building the bond all the time, and I think that's really important. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Gosh, it's fascinating. I mean, it's literally, and like you say, there's no data, there's no science, because maybe the studies haven't been done yet. Hopefully they will be. And I mean, have you contacted people to come and see the work you're doing and to do some studies with you?
I've worked really closely with Hartbury University, and I was doing a master's there, and we were looking at doing studies and stuff. It's time is the hardest thing, and I think because I am trying to compete at the level I am, there's only so much you can do, and I think it's more important I get the training sessions in than that side of it. But what I would hope is, I mean, technically I move into masters this year, but I'm not ready to be 40, so I'm going to still race elite. My dogs are absolute prime, and I still think I can, give the young ones a run for their money, so I'm going to stick around in elite. But I won't be able to do that for long. So I'm going to make the most out of it. And then I think when I start slowing down, that's when I'd like to start looking at giving back to the sport and looking more at the science behind it. And hopefully we can do more of that.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be the same as our mutual friend Michelle Parsons, who you're now swimming the fast lane. I cycled with her and she's 58. Still very much at the elite level, I would say. So I think at 58 you'll still be winning these silver and gold medals on the snow, despite not living in a snowy place. So I think it's insane. Day-to-day challenges though, time. It's like, I mean, how do you manage your time? That is just the craziest part of your schedule, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, time, like, it's really hard. Like, I have to revisit this a lot. I can't plan anything now because the weather is my biggest, like, it's my biggest difficulty with the dogs. So you can't do a training schedule because the chances are when you want to put the long distance in with the dogs, it's going to be hot. Then I have a 3-year-old that is supposed to be in bed and she isn't, but I've just learned that it doesn't fit in there, Prin. Occasionally, you just, the more you get stressed and worked up about it, it doesn't help, and you have to adapt. So, like, for example, tonight, so I've come back off a massive charity challenge, and I've done a lot of training, well, not training, like physical exercise last 3 days. So today I had a sports massage this morning, which was perfect, and then I just wanted to spin my legs over this afternoon, just before I get back into training properly again tomorrow. And for that, it would be really nice to just get out on the mountain bike and clear my head, to be honest. Half an hour to an hour would have been perfect. But the thought of carrying Prin on the front of my bike, which I normally do with training now, that's a bit of an extra load. And I didn't feel like that would be the best thing for my legs. So I let Prin sit on my watt bike, and I got my rollers out and put my mountain bike on that. And it's adapting so you don't waste time, and you just utilize every second you've got in the day, really. Procrastination it's a killer, and I have to remind myself sometimes, like, if there's a job that I don't really want to do, I'll procrastinate and do something more, and I stop, you ain't got time for this. And yeah, it is hard, the struggle's real, but it is using every hour you have from wake up to sleep.
Yeah. So where's the motivation coming from then? Where do you think it's what drives you?
I could get really deep on this, but first and foremost, my dogs have got more out of me than anyone or anything. I want to do this for them, and I want to do the best I can for them, because ultimately the better I look after them, the more I know, the better their lives will be. The faster I am on a bike, the easier the load for them, and the faster they'll be. So ultimately this is for them, and that's pretty powerful. Like, I can't really explain that enough. I think you need to work with an animal to really understand that bond and what levels you would go for an animal. You know, sometimes people criticize like sports with animals and stuff. That could be horse riding, it could be working with dogs, but I just don't think you to criticize it. I just don't think you'd have ever experienced the bond that we have with our animals. And these dogs, they're bred for what they want to do, and there is an element of it where they're purpose bred and they will do what they're bred to do. But to take it to that elite level, that's hours of work, hours and hours and hours with your best mate, and then it's special. So yeah, I could go on about that all day. They ultimately for my dogs, but I think a lot of it actually stems from like school and stuff, and I think I guess kind of like almost like wanting to be somebody and kind of not getting overlooked. Just as peer pressures, there's like cool groups, and I think I just felt like I never really fitted in. I didn't really enjoy school, to be honest. It wasn't for me, and I've always struggled with my weight, and I think I just wanted to prove to people that I could do stuff, and I think that's why I'm so driven. I've never really spoke about that out loud to anyone, but I think I left school a bit with that mentality, and then that kind of then led to you can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it. And then like you'll have that conversation with people, and they're, oh yeah, that's really inspirational. You really can do what you want if you want it bad enough. But it's quite a flippant comment.
Yeah.
But when you actually start implementing that, it's really powerful, and you really can. Like, I know that sounds really cliche, but like even down to having a daughter, like, and wanting a kid and making that happen,
Yeah.
like you can do whatever you want, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
you can. It is so cool. Gosh, I mean, as I say, we've not known each other all that long, but this last winter when you were competing, I mean, I just loved getting the messages from you, and you're like, oh yeah, I just got another gold medal, and I've just got a silver, and I just got this, and I've just won that in this class. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. You're just insane. And so, you know, you have got this crazy busy life, and you just seem to pull it off and just be so, I mean, you're probably not really that calm and relaxed because you're probably running around like a mad woman most of the time. But, you know, whenever I see you, you're calm and you're chilled and you're great, and it's just really, really lovely to see. So I think you've you certainly inspired me anyway.
Thank you. I think
you
like, no, you go.
I was going to say, but on top of all of that we've just spoken about, you also run a successful business, and you're taking people on sled trips and doing one-to-one training. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Arctic Quest?
Yeah. So I guess that came before the racing. Like, I do sled dog tours in the UK, so husky rides for families and people and schools and corporate, and I love what I do. I get to do my passion every day, and hence why I have so many dogs, which is amazing. And then that kind of then took me into the racing. I think, like, the other thing I was going to say before you asked that question was I think having dogs, it teaches you I can't get stressed, because that will wear off on them. And don't get me wrong, I do get stressed. Everyone gets stressed, surely. But it's learning. I don't even think it's just having dogs. I think dogs helps big time. But I think, like, a lot of people could all tell you a story about something big that's happened in their lives and is life changing, whether it's happened to them direct or family members or friends. And I think when you have things that happen big in your life, it does change you, and you learn not to sweat the small stuff. Like, and honestly, like, even tonight, like, I guess, like, if you'd done this 12 months ago, I would have been really stressed that she wasn't in bed, and like, how am I going to do this chat with her? And now I'm just, like you say, it's just very real. This is my life, and I can't hide it. I don't want to hide it. It's really tough. It's really intense, but the results speak for themselves, and it's us. It's our life, I guess.
Yeah. And I see the bond you have with the dogs. You know, that comes across really strong. And you talked about that just earlier. And you've got that real nice teamwork. I interviewed somebody recently, and he wasn't motivated he was a swimmer, and he wasn't motivated to race on his own on the individual races. But when he was racing for his university team, he always raced faster, because he wasn't just doing it for himself. So that whole team element is really, really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. I think, really huge. Like, I never want to let the dogs down. And there's something magic about what they'll get out of it for you. It just suddenly isn't just about you.
Yeah. And then just swinging right back to the beginning of our conversation, before we started recording, we were talking about the event you've just been doing, the charity event you've just been doing over the last few days. And that was a team event too. And you touched on the difficulties working within that team. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we did the 3 peaks and the 3 lakes. So the three highest mountains in the UK and the 3 largest lakes to kayak. And then we wanted to join it all up in between with a cycle ride to each thing. We didn't do 2 of the cycle rides. It didn't work out. But I think, even though I had calculated all the timings and seen that it was possible and viable, I hadn't taken into account anyone else and external factors, like it sounds so stupid, but like the weather, and then like road closures and like all these other things. Like, when you think you have thought about everything, you almost like, I want to say miss silly little things, but they weren't. They were big things, and I guess the more you do things, you learn, don't you? You learn in life, and I think what I learned on this challenge was it wasn't just about how hard or far I can push myself. We had to work as a team. Like, I couldn't complete the challenge without my team. You know, I needed drivers, I needed a support crew, I needed Tim was meant to be doing the whole challenge with me. He couldn't complete the whole challenge with me because of a week ago he couldn't even walk. And then other people from the team, the drivers, stepped in, and then on the last day we all did the hike together, and it was amazing. And yeah, it just it made me really look differently at how you work with people and how you adapt to things that are thrown to you. So yeah, it was good.
And then you do it and you look back and you're like, you know what, that was probably good that it happened like that, because we've all learned something different, or we've all come away with, you know, we did finish what we finished. And I just think in sport there's so many, we do a piece of work with the athletes when we do the mindset course, and we call it Truths in Sport. And it's like, there's so many truths around sport. It's like, we're going to get injured, there's going to be setbacks, we're going to fail, we're going to have to learn. So, you know, it's all just putting all that into perspective, isn't it? And realizing that is just what we do, and you got to ride the good with the bad.
Yeah, I think you have to have those bad days as well to make you better. Like when I had Prin, we came back from COVID and I'd had a baby, and suddenly people had been furloughed and basically been paid to train. And then also people have got better dogs. I went from being, I would say, one of, if not the best in the UK, to suddenly not. I was being beaten. I was top 3, and that was really hard to swallow, to the point that I was like, do I take a year out? Do I use having a kid an excuse? And yeah, it really questioned stuff, but I thought, no, you need to stick with this. It's going to make you better. And oh God, did it really made me better. And I did not like losing. So the only way you can get better is to reevaluate, readdress everything you're doing, and go home and work harder. And that's exactly what we did. And yeah, we made the best comeback that we've ever done. So it paid off.
Yes, but isn't that always the way, with the benefit of hindsight and a bit of old age and wisdom and perspective? You know, you've got an injury, everyone comes back stronger. You know, when you're injured at the time, you can't believe that, but it is just true. There's always a gift of something going wrong, and you sound like you found the gift in COVID and came back so strong.
Yeah, I think if you want something hard enough and then it gets taken further away from you, it can drive you even more. And I think, yeah, that's exactly what it did for me.
Yeah. Vickie, just one last question for you. Tell me what bit of advice you'd like to give to, you could either be thinking about yourself, you know, now looking at yourself sort of growing up, what would you tell your 16, 17, 18-year-old self, 12-year-old self, because these are the ages of the athletes that we support. What advice would you give them?
Just, if you're passionate about sport, you don't even need to be naturally the best person at that age. If you put the hours in, the hours are what make you great. And if you want to be an Olympic athlete or a world champion, or just compete at an elite level, like, it really is possible. Like, I am beyond all, like, I am so ordinary in who I am. I don't look like an athlete. I wish I did, but I don't. And I have problems. Like, I am far from perfect. Like, and it's you look amazing. It's a constant challenge, the things that I want to achieve. But I had one big goal, and that was to be the best I could be in my sport. And I said it enough, I worked hard enough at it, and it came true. So it's possible. Just don't give up.
Brilliant, Vickie. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and really appreciate your time, big time, in this massively busy day. And I know you're not going to get to bed terribly early because you've still got heaps more to do, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Fee. Sorry about my carnage.
I love it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Athletic Ambitions. We hope you found this episode of interest, and if so, be sure to send this to your family and friends who might also benefit. If you're interested in donating to Cass and Friends, the links are in the description, and we'll hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks, Tom and Fee.